Welcome back to the Front Three on YouTube. Adam here. I'm joined by Laurence McKenna, of course.
Welcome back.
And we've also got Kristan stepping in for Dave.
Pleasure to be had.
Pleasure to have you. We're here to talk about the three things we learned from the weekend. Hopefully it's going to be the first of a new weekly series on the show. First up, Laurence, we're going to come to you. The big game yesterday, Arsenal versus Chelsea. Arshay, as the hashtag went. What did you learn from the game? What did you make of it?
Per Mertesacker, still slow. Nothing original there, guys.
It's true.
But
what did you make of his red card?
I obviously... Do either of you feel like he should have not been sent off because he wasn't the last man?
No, I think it was a red.
You think he was the last man?
Yeah.
Even ahead of Koscielny?
Yes. Do you disagree now?
Well, because of where the ball was going, I feel like Koscielny may have caught him, and then both of them could have got a red card. No, but some people are also saying there's that whole... They're doing the whole thing where he looked across to see if it was offside, it wasn't offside, so he goes in for the tackle. It just doesn't seem to make much sense. Why would you not want... The only reason he would look across for me is if he was looking to see if he was the last man.
Not the best time for him to look across there, you have to say. When he was just about to get into a crucial tackle.
Yeah, no, good point. Overall, I think it was a mistake. And
Yes.
I think Arsenal would much rather have 11 on the pitch because it ultimately impacted the whole game. All of Arsenal's tactics, it meant that they had to take Giroud off.
What did you make of that decision? Because there was obviously booing in the stadium. Giroud himself obviously wasn't happy about it. But do you think there was someone else that maybe he could have sacrificed? I think Thierry Henry at half-time was saying Joel Campbell maybe should have been sacrificed instead.
Well, the logic was that Arsenal would need to counter-attack with their 10. But my struggle with that was that then you've got three guys. You've got Walcott, Campbell and Ozil, all who are good at counter-attacking. Why not sacrifice one of the counter-attackers for someone who's much more tactically flexible, like Olivier Giroud? I know that they're also saying he possibly had an injury and he doesn't want to have to make subs in that time. But still, why not have it so that, and this is the key thing for me, if you need to get past Matic and Mikel, you can play a long ball.
Yeah, the thing for me was I feel like it didn't work because they did get in good positions a couple of times in that. Just happened it was Matic Flamini the ball fell to a couple of times. But what if Giroud, being a striker, might have got himself in those positions? Things might have been different.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm also thinking, though, they did themselves a bit of a disservice because Walcott didn't play his best game. He sort of moved a little bit more inside. They almost played with two up front and but a very wide front two. And then Ozil almost in the middle. Am I right in saying that? And then Alexis Sanchez came on later as an almost sort of, let's see what happens kind of thing.
Just chuck him on. Kristan, what do you think it means? Kristan, what do you think it means for Arsenal's title challenge? Because now they're 3 weeks. They've had 2 draws now, one against Liverpool, one against Stoke. And obviously this defeat to Chelsea. 2 points ahead of Spurs now, who were sort of out of the title race last week. So what do you think it means for their title challenge as well? Because they were favourites.
They were, and I would argue they're still up there. The thing is with them, because of the way the season's going, you can't rule them out at this point. It'd be really naive to say that they're out of it because they lost to Chelsea. I think it's really funny that they've had 3 red cards this season. They've all come against Chelsea. There's clearly something in the war against Chelsea that really just winds them up.
And the problem is that actually I think Arsenal do need to be a more reflective club and sort of be less down and be a bit more sort of up. The fact is that Arsene Wenger, I think, has a good sense of perspective on it.
I feel like they don't have as much of a cutting edge. If you look at like the Invincible era, there was an air of winner about a lot of them. They had achieved a lot. They had done a lot. They strive for brilliance. The vibe around this current Arsenal teams feel like it's a project. There's too much talk of potential and things they could achieve.
Do you think that's kind of tapered by... I mean, I think it was Robbie from Arsenal Fan TV who just did a Periscope and said... no one's ever said that before. It just did a Periscope and said, I think it was partly, he was saying, well, Diego Costa and Mikel, I think he wrongly thought that Mikel elbowed Sanchez in the face because he was at the match, not watching it on TV. Although what Mikel did was wrong against Sanchez. He still put his arm across him, but still, it wasn't as violent as people thought. He was saying, we don't have a nasty edge. And I do think that Invincible side and the teams that won under Wenger had a nasty side. They had a really poor discipline record, didn't they?
It's an eagerness to win. That's what it's that old Suarez quandary about where do you blur the line?
Yeah,
and
you don't. You shouldn't blur the line.
Well, Carragher said things like he just had such a will to win and all this, and the scenes of him crying at Palace when they drew and all that kind of. It's that similar mentality where it really hurts to lose, like inside, even in training, and I think we've definitely lost that edge.
They feel a little bit lightweight, didn't they? They were getting a bit bullied by Chelsea. Obviously,
I mean,
worst
Chelsea, it
Chelsea
played
for years.
perfectly into Chelsea's hands.
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%.
So perfectly into Chelsea's hands because they literally, right, there's the goal, off we go. And it was the irony of Diego Costa then scoring the goal. 6 in 6 for him under Hiddink. So, not long ago, Dave was talking about how stale it was getting with Mourinho just doing the same tactics to Costa. Ball, miss, ball, miss, ball in behind, miss. Can he get the ball? No.
Sounds like a Newcastle training session.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying?
Kristan, what have you learned from this weekend's action? What do you want to talk to us about?
West Ham and Man City have arguably the same issue.
Which is what?
Poor kids.
They have talisman in different parts of the field that essentially dictate how well or badly they do. For City, it's company. It's something ridiculous, like 2 goals in the 9 games that he's played, compared to something like 22 in the 14 that they've been without him. Payet, West Ham's win ratio drops from just over 50% to 25% when he doesn't play.
It's actually 22%. Is it not 22% when he's
Has it dropped again?
Yeah. I think less people invested in the time that you were speaking, Chris, and his stock market's actually gone down. But the point being, either way, it's low, right?
It's frighteningly. And the thing is, having watched West Ham up close quite recently, they try and funnel everything through him. There's very little creativity or dynamic passing in the middle of midfield.
So
Mark
how do you
Noble,
stop him?
Aubameyang, same.
But how do you stop Payet then? Because no one, all the games that he's been back and all the games that he does play in, very few people seem to be able to stop him. Do you think people are worried about leaving other people open if they go to Payet? Like,
I'm not even sure what the others do. That's the difficult thing.
It's like watching the Beatles, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound too dismissive of them. I say that, but watching Aubameyang last week, I couldn't tell you what he contributed to the game. He was so kind of one-dimensional in the way he passed the ball and moved it. Similar with Noble. It was a case of let's get it to halfway and give it to someone else. There was no real kind of cutting edge there.
But then what about that tactically? Do you think, are you talking about a talisman and sort of saying, there's belief in the side? Or is it literally that tactically it plays out differently as well?
Tactically, they hang everything on that player. So for City, it's more of a defensive thing in terms of they don't look as composed. I don't think they're as organised when he's absent. In the same way that when Payet is not there for West Ham, the forward line doesn't seem to move with as much kind of swagger to it.
Because I'm looking at this and I'm seeing Enner Valencia with the 2 goals the other day. I'm just, looking at that. Obviously, that's not Payet scoring those goals.
It opens space, though. That's the other thing. It's not the thing is, it's not a theory that applies, ad infinitum. It's not every single goal is to do with Payet, but they look a lot different in terms of the way they produce attacks without him in the team.
Yeah, very good point, because he's so graceful. He's got such great vision, sort of ball here, ball there, just, like out balls basically from midfield through to the 3 attackers who all just run at the back line and sort of, to some extent, I think it was Messi seconds earlier this season who made that video which said their stats are ridiculously high. They can't remain at this level and they will go back to the mean. And Dave said the same.
It's no coincidence that when he was out of the team, they went on a run of they lost 1 and they drew 5 in a row, and they won the last one he was away. But as soon as he came back, they won back-to-back wins straight away. So he was very influential. But who's the talisman for City then? You're saying Company as opposed to, say, Aguero. Okay.
Yeah, I think so because he just harnesses all the team together. You know that idea of you build from the back? It's the same with him because he, again, having been lucky enough to watch him in person, he's incredibly vocal. And he doesn't just tell the defenders what to do, he tells everybody what to do.
Tells the opposition what to do as well.
Run that out of play.
Yeah.
Good lad.
Sorry.
We've been talking about this for years, basically, about how important Company is to Manchester City, and they're just not the same team without him. How have City not rectified that? Is that not something they should have tried to, or have they tried to fail?
Massively ripped off. They've basically gone to mainland Europe and been absolutely had the pants pulled down twice by Valencia and
who hasn't, Chris?
Cinema.
A lot as well, to be fair. I remember when they signed Mangala, Andy Brassel said that it didn't make sense to him to pay that much because there was so many kind of parts of his game that were unrefined yet. And he said it was a real kind of dangerous investment. And I was inclined to agree. Similar with Otamendi, he'd had 1 good season really at Valencia and they just went out and bought him. And it's surprising for a football club that operates the way City Football Group do with their scouting because it's literally like Starbucks. There's people everywhere watching every single
I
player.
do
I think they have terrible coffee though. The point of view of Starbucks. They have talismanic points. So Company, Yaya, Aguero. Most people call that a spine, but it almost seems talismanic that if one of those is missing, then they are missing at the game. No, or would you say Company is the most important?
I think
of that spine?
Company's the most important. I think you see a dramatic, particularly away from home. They were, what was it? Something ridiculous, like 3 clean sheets or something. At the start of the season with him in the team.
Yeah, look that up.
It's funny that we give Chelsea a lot of criticism for letting Kevin De Bruyne go and obviously Lukaku, but City had Jerome Boateng on their books, didn't they? Not too long ago. Let him go to Bayern Munich, becomes one of the best defenders in the world. So
That's
no more.
a very good narrative, Adam. Great art.
Narrative.
They've got Jason Denier as well, the young Belgian centre-back who they let go to Galatasaray.
Speaking of talisman, Adam, your greatest talisman this weekend, and the guy that everyone's going crazy over. The loop, the kick, the goal, the new boots.
He did actually play that well in that game, funnily enough, but produced that moment of magic. So I put it out there on Twitter yesterday. That, for me, even though I'm sort of bending the rules because he signed last January, but he joined in the summer, I was saying that Dele Alli is the signing of the season. I think he's got 6 goals now.
Stop
this
trying
season.
to make fetch work. It just doesn't.
He scored 6 goals now. Same amount as Kevin De Bruyne, who obviously costs, 54 million, I think.
Is that 10 times what you cost?
If my maths are correct, isn't it? It's 11 times, is it? Is it 54? 58 cost.
Yeah.
Almost 11. But anyway, I just think he's been an incredible player for Spurs, and I think it was 5 million that he cost us, which is absolutely sensational. Do you guys agree with that, or would you say what people are saying to me on Twitter, that Petr Cech has perhaps been more influential, and your man, Kristan, Dimitri Payet, has been more influential to their teams?
I mean, it's a good point, isn't it?
Dele Alli scored crucial goals, I think, for Spurs, and especially yesterday when just before he scored what was the second goal, Palace just hit the bar twice. It wasn't actually looking great for Spurs. All of a sudden, not playing great that game. A moment of magic, boom, win the game. Now people are saying, we're back in the title race, yada, yada, all this sort of stuff. So I think he's up there for the amount of money they paid as well. I think that is a big factor in why he's probably, for me, the best signing of the season. Although Payet costs, 10 million?
Payet costs
7.5.
So let's talk a little bit about Dele Alli, though, and where he plays on the pitch. Because when I think of Dele Alli, I don't think he's number 10, is he? He's kind of what would you describe his role as?
I think he is an attacking midfielder. I think that's when he plays best.
I don't consider him a 10. I consider a 10 like a playmaking kind of 10. And Dele Alli's, no, it doesn't quite seem that way.
Well, Pochettino's sort of been switching in between the central midfield too. So he's usually playing Dyer, seems to be ever present, and Dembele. When Dembele's out, Dyer was sort of Ali was sort of filling there, but he seems more effective when he's playing in that central attacking midfield position when he's closer to goal. So I just think he's been incredible. I think he's
Can Real Madrid fit him in there?
Can they? I'm sure they would love another attacking player.
Would you? I mean, that's the question. Is I mean, that you've got a team full of youngsters. Amazing. Would you start him at the Euros?
Like you were saying about the position, it depends where you play him. Do you play him in centre midfield or do you play him in centre attacking midfield? What formation is Hodgson going to go with? Is he going to go for the old 4-2-3-1?
5 at the back, 3
5-5-0.
That's the thing. You'd say, okay, say if he plays in attacking midfield, he probably should start, even if he plays there. Maybe you put Rooney up front.
Yeah.
Because we don't know whether Sturridge is going to be fit. Should Kane be starting? Maybe. But even in central midfield, he's probably better than some of the other options there. I mean, who have we got? We've got Jack Wilshere, who's probably not going to be fit, we assume, or might not even be in the squad. Jordan Henderson as well. I'd be tempted to say Dele Alli is a better player than Jordan Henderson.
But I like the idea of Jordan Henderson, Dele Alli, and who's in centre? Owen Hargreaves in central defensive midfield.
Bring him back.
But that's the thing is, I mean, even then, you say at least with Dele Alli and Jordan Henderson in midfield, you've got someone who's a bit more solid and someone who's a little bit more attacking and someone who understands the game in a different way to the way that Dele Alli does. And Jordan Henderson has actually been playing a very attacking role for Liverpool, more on the edge of the box more recently, hence why he got the goal at the weekend. So it's not such a terrible idea.
I think he should be starting there. I think, listen, like I said, he didn't play great yesterday, but he had that moment of magic. We saw in his England debut against France. He scored an absolute worldie. So I think those are the sort of moments, those are the sort of players, those are the sorts of talents that we're going to need if we're going to get anything this summer. Let's wrap it up. But first off, I'm going to say Dele Alli, Premier League signing of the season. I know I'm bending the rules slightly. Kristan, who are you going for? Payet? Check.
I'm probably going to jump through your loophole and say Dele Alli because it's a big change as well. That's the other thing for a young lad to handle that and the pressure that comes with Spurs. Because again, I might be reading this wrong, but whenever I look at Spurs, I always think that's a lot of pressure for any young player to go and play because the expectations are really high, and he's exceeded them. He's got a little bit of a dirty streak. Again, had a little bit of a stamp on someone the other day.
Don't know what you mean, mate. Don't know what you mean. He's English. That'll be part of it, won't it?
Yeah,
it goes into that thing we're talking about, the mentality. Is it that thing of like he wants to be a winner so much that he bends the rules and to the point of break? I think if he gets rid of that, then he'll be fine. But other than that, he's been a sensational signing.
We did say the same about Wayne Rooney, and then when they finally beat it out of him, he, look. But we'll see.
Who's your shout, Laurence? Who's your shout? Premier League season so far.
I'm going to say if Arsenal win the title, Petr Cech. I just feel like it's... Actually, Kante is...
if they win the league,
talisman.
It's to win the league.
I was considering each team and who their talisman is. I know that Mahrez and Vardy have had a lot of attention, but Kante, when you look at his statistics, and I was on StatZone the other day, it's mental, the different positions on the pitch that he fulfills, and that really is incredible. So he's. Do
you think there's anything in this? The fact that so many new signings have thrived, and the potential notion that the Premier League is quite tactically rudimentary.
I don't know. I don't know if you're right in saying that. I wonder if
just like a playground game of sorts.
Do you think it's more that we believe that maybe the Premier League is slightly behind the curve, and actually these players are bringing the Premier League up to the curve? And we've probably got the time for this another week talking about defensiveness, but it's just that we brought in we've skewed things towards attacking, and
look how many of those though are athletes. In the sense that,
you're right,
like Kante, etc., it's a lot of their game is predicated on their physical attributes.
Yeah.
So maybe if you've got someone who's a little bit slower, something like that, they don't do it. I think probably Mitrovic is a good example of someone who's not fast. He's actually quite slow, and he's struggled.
Yeah.
And that's because it seems to me more and more now the Premier League is about speed and how quick you can move the ball rather than how easily can you kind of move things intricately. Giaccherini, who's gone back to Bologna, done really well for Bologna. Yeah. Just scored on Sunday.
And who's the guy that West Ham have just let go?
Zarate.
Yeah, another one.
Yeah,
I would be surprised if he did well for Fiorentina.
Anyway, let's wrap it up there, guys. Let us know in the comments below what you learned from this weekend action. Let us know if you think Dele Alli is the player of the season, the signing of the season, I should say. Let us know what you think of West Ham's talisman, Manchester City's talisman, who's the other Premier League talisman, and let us know what you learned from Arsenal Chelsea as well. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on The Front Three.